All right. It is a small slate of NBA games here on Halloween, but we've got 4 games. We've got the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. We've got the Houston Rockets taking on the Dallas Mavericks. We've got the San Antonio Spurs going to Utah to take on the Jazz, and we've got the Suns going to the Intuit Dome to take on the Clippers, a team in Los Angeles who is still looking for their first victory at the Intuit Dome this season, actually ever. So we've got 4 games, and we're going to get through them pretty quickly again here on this Halloween day. We'll have a lot larger slate for Friday, November 1st. So again, we've got daily NBA predictions coming at you here on the channel. So folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for these NBA daily picks, and make sure to leave a like if you are enjoying, again, the NBA predictions as well. All right, we've got 4 games, and before we get into them, folks, make sure to go check out our NFL predictions posted yesterday on the channel. We posted our college football predictions 2 days ago here on the channel, as well as our UFC Fight Night Edmonton Moreno versus Albazi predictions as well. Let's now get in to the NBA picks, and we start things off here with the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. We're going to be going with the Bucks to win this game, and I get it. The Bucks have been severely underwhelming to start the season. But the Grizzlies have been kind of that same exact way. Now, Memphis started off the season on a pretty good note. I remember we picked them early on in the year. It was one of our, best bets that we stopped doing because we just, I feel like I was just, jinxing myself on the best bets. But regardless of that, the Grizzlies look good to start the season. They are now 2-3 after, a win against the Utah Jazz. They go back, they lose to the Rockets, and they beat the Magic, and then back-to-back losses to the Chicago Bulls and to the Brooklyn Nets. And for the Milwaukee Bucks, this has been another severely underwhelming team, though. They are 1-3 after a win on opening night against the 76ers. They have lost 3 in a row to the Chicago Bulls, to the Brooklyn Nets, and then to the Boston Celtics. Again, I don't think Milwaukee stays this bad for this long. I just don't think it's the case. I don't see a world where Milwaukee continues to lose games like this. They are 1-3, and they have lost to some teams that aren't the greatest. Now, I'm very high on the Chicago Bulls, and I will remain very high on the Chicago Bulls this entire season. But losing the Bulls isn't great. Losing to Brooklyn, who finds ways to stay in games. Believe it or not, Brooklyn's been good this season, surprisingly. And then you got the Boston Celtics they lost to as well. And you check out the Grizzlies, right? They just lost to Brooklyn too. I mean, the Nets have been killing us all season long. We said, yesterday that the Nets were going to cover against the Grizzlies, but they've just been a really weird team that have shocked a lot of people. For Memphis, again, they've got back-to-back losses now to the Nets and Bulls. 2 really confusing teams, and 2 teams that, again, have both lost to Chicago and to Brooklyn. I'm going to side with the Bucks. Again, I just feel like this team has to show up eventually. They can't continue playing the way that they are right now. I don't think that is going to happen with the Bucks. They have too much talent to stay this bad. Again, you got Giannis, you got Dame. I know Chris Middleton's not back, but damn, Chris Middleton should not be the reason why your team's not winning games. I get it, he's a huge part of this team, but just because Chris Middleton's playing, it does not mean that you're, not beating teams like the Memphis Grizzlies. The game is in Tennessee, I get it, but regardless, give me the Milwaukee Bucks to go on the road and beat the Grizzlies. Okay, let's go on to our next one here. We have got the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Houston Rockets. I'm going to be going with the Mavericks to win this game. We're going to take them to cover the 6.5 points as well. And real quick, before we get into the prediction, folks, yes, these videos are going to continue to go out in the morning for the most part, because sometimes these lines don't go out until, 11 o'clock on the West Coast, and I really don't want to post videos at midnight, so that's why I'm going to continue to post these early in the morning, the day of the games. Again, I'm going to try to consistently get them up at noon on the East Coast and 9 a.m. on the West Coast, just so, again, there's a consistent upload schedule. But yes, I wanted to try to upload these the night before, but it's just really difficult considering the lines aren't always out there. But we've got the Mavericks and the Rockets here. I'm taking Dallas to win this game. They're 3-1. Their only loss being to the Phoenix Suns this year, and that's fine. Again, they've won back-to-back since against the Jazz and against the Timberwolves, and Kyrie Irving has played really well so far this season, obviously. Same can be said about Luka Doncic. For the Rockets, they're 2-2, but their wins are Memphis in a game that we really liked Memphis in, and then they beat the Spurs. Jalen Green has been playing lights out. He has led Houston in points every single game they have played so far this season, and again, you're going to get great production of guys like Sengun, guys like Jabari Smith Jr., and Fred VanVleet has done a really good job facilitating this offense as well. Regardless, though, the Dallas Mavericks are just levels ahead of this Houston squad. I've said it time in and time out before here on the channel this season. I am not sold on Houston. I get they have talent. I'm just not sold on this team collectively so far, and I just think Dallas is much better. I don't think that's a hot take or whatnot, but I definitely just think the Mavericks are the better team going into this game, right? Again, the win over Minnesota last game on the road, we picked against the Mavericks. I'm not going to do that again, at least in the near future, even though they have a game against my guys in the Orlando Magic coming up next on Sunday. But still, again, They cash as dogs on the road against the Timberwolves. They take care of teams like they're supposed to take care of in the Jazz and in the Spurs. I would expect Dallas to just have their way here against the Rockets. The game is in Dallas for this one, and I feel like this is kind of a National Blowout Association game if I've ever seen one. I really think the Mavericks just kind of pull away with this one. The Rockets are going to go back into the team that we thought the Rockets were at the start of the season. I get their 2-2, but they have not played a good team yet. They've played Charlotte, who, again, Charlotte's been much better this season. Charlotte's been a lot, really good, and I said that at the beginning of the year. I thought Charlotte was going to be a good team this year. They beat Charlotte, they lost to Charlotte, beat Memphis, who we just talked about not being all that great, and then back-to-back games against the Spurs, who we're going to talk about in a second here. Yeah, give me the Mavericks to win this game. I like them to win this game at home in Dallas, and I like them to cover the spread as well. Next up, we go on to the aforementioned San Antonio Spurs, and here they are against the Utah Jazz. I mean, this is kind of a toilet bowl. If I'm going to be honest with you guys here. Both these teams are playing piss poor to start the season. The Spurs, I think, are going to be better, and that's kind of why we're picking the Spurs here. Guys, the Jazz are 0-4, and they haven't been competitive yet in the game since their, opening night game against the Grizzlies. Yeah, I know they lost that game by 2 points. It is what it is. Laurie dropped 35, but since then, the Jazz have not played a good game yet. I mean, they got blown out by 30 points against the Warriors. The Mavs beat them by 8, but the Mavericks were always in control of that basketball game, and they just lost by 20 points at home against the Sacramento Kings. This is a troubling team that the Utah Jazz are. I mean, again, you get production out of Lauri Markkanen some nights, but again, Lauri had that 35 on that first night of the season, and we haven't seen anything like that since. You got Colin Sexton, who's going to drop his, 20-ish points a night if he can get to the hoop. Walker Kessler is going to be that force in the glass. You're going to see more of Kyle Filipowski, the rookie out of Duke, more and more this season, but I'm just not sold on the Jazz at all. Again, I think this is a team that, in a team that worked a couple seasons ago, but I think teams are figuring them out. Jordan Clarkson off the bench and whatnot. I mean, it's just, I don't like Utah that much this season. Just watching them play, they don't look all that great. And I think for Utah to win basketball games, or at least on a consistent basis, they need big nights out of Lauri Markkanen. And if Lauri's not going to give them those big nights like he hasn't since the first game of the season, I just don't think the Jazz can be all that competitive. Again, the one game that Lauri popped off and scored 35 points, they were very competitive in that loss against the Grizzlies. Since then, again, Lauri has not dropped over 20 points in the losses to the Warriors, Mavericks, and Kings. And you get a Spurs team that, I get it. They're 1-3. Their one win is the Rockets, the second game of the season, when Wembanyama dropped 29. I understand that. But look at the teams they've played. Again, they split against the Rockets. That's fine. Losing at Dallas and losing at OKC to the best team in basketball in the Oklahoma City Thunder last night. I'm fine with that. Again, the Thunder are that good. We talk at length about how good the OKC Thunder are. And whatever, the Spurs lose to them, I'm fine with that. They should be able to go into Utah and win this game. I get it. It's the second half of a back-to-back, but that's how poor I think the Jazz are. I like what the Spurs have got. I like what they're building, and I think they should be able to get their second win of the season with that Chris Paul to Victor Wembanyama duo. Give me the Spurs to go on the road and win this game in Utah against the Jazz, who are probably one of the worst teams in basketball right now. And we go on to our final game, but maybe the Jazz could go out there and beat the Los Angeles Clippers, because last night, man, I mean, I witnessed the Clippers lose to the Portland Trailblazers, and it was a disgusting performance. They didn't score in the last 2 minutes of the game, and they ended up losing the game by 1 point. Absolutely horrible. They could not buy a bucket at the end of that game. Zubac misses 2 free throws to potentially win the game, or at least tie the game for the Clippers, and they end up losing to Portland, who continues to burn us all season long, which is ridiculous, just like the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm never picking the Pelicans ever again. I'm never picking New Orleans again this season. I'm going to make that very clear right now. We are never picking the Pelicans, at least for a while. They are banned currently. They have screwed us 3 times this season already, and they've played 5 games. Regardless, give me the Suns to go into Los Angeles and win. Again, the Clippers are still looking for their first win in the Intuit Dome. I don't think they get it here. We've seen this game earlier on in the season. Phoenix won it. It was the opening night game for both these teams last Wednesday. But the Suns have only looked better since. Obviously, they're coming off that win over the Lakers, where they shot pretty well. Obviously, you got the big three, Durant, Beal, and Booker, and I'd expect the Suns to just kind of build off of what they play, the game they played on Monday against the Lakers, and I would expect them to beat the Clippers here. Again, I'm not sold on the Clippers. Now I'm not, because that game against Portland, they looked absolutely horrible. They couldn't get anything going. Norman Powell dropped 30, which is great. Harden kind of struggled at points. Zubac struggled at points as well. They played Portland really tight. It was very confusing, and they couldn't buy a bucket in the final 90 seconds of that game. I'm taking the Suns to go on the road and win this game. Again, it's the second half of the back back-to-back for the Clippers. And again, I liked what I saw out of the Suns earlier this week against the Lakers. I'd expect Phoenix to go on the road and take care of business here on Halloween and still prevent the Clippers from finding their first win at home in the Intuit Dome. Maybe it's cursed. Hell, I mean, they couldn't beat the damn Trailblazers. I don't know what to say. They'll get another shot Saturday when they play the OKC Thunder at home. Yikes. Maybe they'll get it next Monday when they take on the San Antonio Spurs. But for now, give me the Suns to go on the road, and I think they'll take down the Clippers, and they will cover the spread as well. So, folks, thank y'all for watching our daily NBA predictions here on the channel for the Halloween games. If you haven't yet, though, make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. And we'll be back again daily for more NBA predictions here on the channel. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.